Hello and welcome to the 1/106th of a second photography podcast. In this episode today, I'm going to be talking about photography Kickstarters. Just talk about what Kickstarter is. Kickstarter is where companies and individuals can get an idea off the ground by getting it funded. And I think Kickstarter was the first, and you've got other ones like GoFundMe, Indiegogo, and now you've got funding pages for people who want to do things. They want to go on a trip, or there's like a charity thing they want to do, and you can fund people that way. But going back to Kickstarter, the idea is to develop a product, get it to production, and make the product cost a lot of money. It's an upfront investment. So you sell that investment to, I suppose, investors, people who want that product. And so they give you the money sort of upfront, but sort of not upfront. And then you've got enough money to build your product. One of the rewards of giving this company money is that you get the product at a lower price. So you can, of course, pledge money without getting the product, but most people are going to want to pledge and get the product. You put your credit card details into Kickstarter, you make a pledge, and it's only when the company reach their goal that the money gets released. So if I pledge £100, it doesn't go out of my bank account, £100, or out of my credit card, I should say. I'll get billed when the whole thing has reached a funding goal. So it might be the funding goal is £10,000. So if they get enough momentum and enough people pledge, then once they reach the £10,000, then everyone's credit cards get billed, they get the money, and they go away and build it. Now, obviously, they're promising something that they haven't built yet, or the company is promising something it hasn't built yet. There is a risk with Kickstarters or products made through the Kickstarter model that you don't ever get your product, that it never comes. And hopefully, you should get your money back. And I'm sure Kickstarter only take that credit card payment once the funding target has been reached and once they're at a stage where the company can send things out, because otherwise people would be losing money left, right and centre. Photography items are quite big on Kickstarter. There's quite a lot of photography and videography items there. Now, a long time ago, I got a 3D attachment for my camera. Long time ago. And it was basically a mount to attach it to a lens, a piece of metal. On the end was a parabolic mirror. And that was that. And I pledged. I got it. It maybe cost me $7 or something. And I got it and I was underwhelmed, and I tried it out and I was underwhelmed. I thought, I have no use for this. And I put it down and I haven't used it since. But there's an awful lot of photography Kickstarters out at the moment. And one of them I've just pledged to, because for me, it solved a problem. There's always something I'd like to pledge for photography stuff on Kickstarter, whether it be the gimbal that is hydraulic and doesn't need any batteries. But I sort of think, no, I won't do that. To me, it's like turning on the telly at 9 o'clock in the morning and the channels haven't started their output yet, but they show these infomercials. In a way, sometimes that's what Kickstarter's like. However, this one's been getting quite a bit of publicity, quite a bit of buzz, and it looks very good. It's called the Revoring, and it's a variable step ring for lens filters. Now, most people think, I don't need lens filters anymore. It was a big thing with having a UV filter in the film days, but you still need a lens filter for some things. So I'm thinking of variable density, ND filters, circularizing, polarizing filter, and any sort of graduated filters. You can't really do that digitally in post. And of course, there are things like orange filters, which I've used before, and various other filters that filter out specific things that are difficult to do in post. Some things you can do in post-production digital editing, but ND filters and circularizing, polarizing filters, you cannot. So a circularizing, polarizing filter, it changes the plane of light that goes in, and it's useful on a sunny day when you want to get bright blue skies. And if you're looking at windows or water, you can turn it and then you'll be able to see through the water, or you'll be able to not get any reflections or get lots of reflections. Now, you can't get rid of reflections and things like that in post-production, but you can get rid of them in camera using a circular polarizing filter. And of course, NDs are the big one, and I use NDs for video. With video, because of your frame rate, you're stuck at a specific shutter speed to shoot the way you want to. And particularly for smaller cameras, when you don't have a very narrow aperture or a large aperture value, you get a bit stuck. So what you can do is you can lower your ISO and then you can close down your aperture. But if you're still getting an overexposed image, you're a bit stuck if you want to shoot at 1/50th or 1/60th of a second. So you can put a ND filter on, which cuts the amount of light going in, great, or you can get a variable one where you can change it. If you want to do infrared photography, that's when you would use a filter as well. I do use those filters. I do use variable ND, circular polarizing and IR filters, but IR filters is very, very occasional. So you could buy a filter for every lens, but the smart thing to do, the clever thing to do, is to buy the biggest filter that fits your biggest lens. So in my case, I think that's a 77mm filter, and that will fit your biggest lens. And then you get something called step-up rings, which bridge the gap between the smaller lenses and the bigger one. You might have sort of 10 little step-up rings, and they all screw into each other, and it will go from, say, 48mm to 52 to 58 to 65, so on and so forth, and they're arranged in a triangle and they go all the way up to 77 or further. But they're a bit rubbish, step-up adapters, and here's why. You've got to keep them all together to be useful. So you've got to carry them around all together to be useful. And let's say you've got a 77mm filter and you put it on the front of your step-up adapters, and your lens is a 52mm, where you end up taking some of the smaller ones off so that you can screw in the 52mm lens step-up adapter into your camera's lens, and then you put the others on, or keep them on. But then inevitably you're going to put down the ones you don't need. They're going to get separated and the whole thing sort of falls apart. Sometimes those step-up adapters get stuck on your lens or stuck on the filter. So this revoring, or revoring, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, looked really good. And the idea is that you can vary the size of the ring. Seems fantastic. So you just have one, although in my case I pledged for 3. I almost said bought then, but I pledged for 3 because they come in 3 different sizes. So I think that would just make my life easier, and that was the general consensus online, that these are going to be so much easier and better than step-up rings. So you don't buy a filter 3 times, you just buy the biggest filter you can, and you use these to bridge the gap with all your lenses. Fantastic. And it just got me thinking, I never talked about Kickstarter before. I pledged for this Kickstarter project. I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine, and I'll get my stuff and I'll be really happy. And I just wanted to talk really about general things with Kickstarters. So you've got to wait some time. The money's got to be collected. It's got to be developed. It's got to be tested. It's got to be shipped. So I'm not going to expect my device till August. And quite often with Kickstarters, you get delays as well. So you'll get an email saying, oh, we're almost there. Oh, how are you doing? We're almost there, but we're going to be a little bit late. So by the time it arrives in the post, you may have forgotten about it. The other thing as well is I live in the UK. This company are based in Hong Kong, but most companies seem to be based in America or the Far East. Obviously, there's shipping involved, and we all pay for shipping in one form or another, but you need to check how much shipping it's going to be. If you're paying £20 for something and then you've got to pay £15 for shipping, you're almost paying the same amount again to get it shipped. That means for someone in America, if it's an American company, it'll be free, but for people in Europe or the UK, you've got more to pay. So just be careful with the shipping. Shipping, you want to consider the total price rather than the price advertised, and the total price will include shipping. Sometimes, as I said, it will never happen because the company could go out of business, they haven't made it, they don't reach their funding goal, there are problems that can't be overcome, and you never, for whatever reason, get it. Hopefully in that situation, you get your money back. And of course, Kickstarter's a company, so they need to take a little cut as well. So not everything is going to go to that company you want to help out. But the Kickstarter model has become pretty big. There are some established companies who use it, and there are some companies who use it very well. Peak Design do Kickstarters. There are other companies that do Kickstarter campaigns. I think even Canon might have done a Kickstarter campaign, and they're more likely to do it for those niche products where they're a bit unsure and there's a bit more risk that they're not going to get the customers they want, or they're not going to be able to fund it. So I think we're going to see more Kickstarter stuff for photography, but we're going to start to see it from more established players. It does take the risk out of developing a product because you know you've got buyers, or a company knows they've got buyers there who are ready to pay for it. So I'll let you know what happens when I get my revoring, and I wonder, have you looked at getting a revoring, or are you just happy with your step-up adapters? Do let me know. Thank you. Goodbye.